What is going down, Sourdough Squad? We got some stuff to talk about. We're going to react to my recent mock draft that I just dropped. Also, some stuff happened yesterday that I think we're probably going to talk about. Make sure to stick around and see what we got cooking. Smash that like button. Let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. How are we doing today? I missed you guys yesterday. I don't know if you guys noticed. No live yesterday. I was on daddy duty. So I had all the kiddos and just wasn't working out timing wise. Some stuff happened yesterday. And typical 49ers stuff. Uh, do we want to talk about that first of all, or we can just get cooked? We can get cooking on the mock draft because I'm not gonna lie, I spent a lot of time on that mock draft, and I think you know, as we've seen, free agency is pretty much wrapped up. I mean, we're talking like 85%, 90%. I think the San Francisco 49ers have a couple more moves. We'll talk about that and what we think those could be. But we're starting to really see how the draft is opening up and how we can still attack the draft and make this team better. So I think we got some good stuff, man. I think the 49ers, we're set up really nice for the draft. I think there's a lot of ability to move up and down, and I'm really excited about it. But of course, shout out all the SDS. Good to see you guys on YouTube and Facebook. 49er Edits says, love your channel so much. Oh, stop it. You're going to make me blush. Raul says, that mock draft was fire. Let's go. What's good, Zach? Eric says, Brad, what's up? Mock fire was fire. I'd be pumped. I can't read. SDS gang, what's good to everybody? Good to see y'all, man. We gonna mock it up? Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, maybe. We'll see. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That value I got was fantastic. But we'll get into that all really quickly. Today, the San Francisco, let's talk about some of the kind of current news, right? And then we'll get into the mock draft and we'll start to break that all down. The San Francisco 49ers had a defensive end in the building. I guess that's some positive movement in the right direction with the San Francisco 49ers because I think I'll speak for myself. I have been personally waiting for the San Francisco 49ers to make a move on an edge. I also did this mock draft with that in mind. I still believe that the San Francisco 49ers are going to grab at least one. At least one. It should be multiple. I don't know if you agree or not, but I do think the San Francisco 49ers have there's guys out there. We've gone through the list of who's available, but today the San Francisco 49ers brought in a kind of hybrid DN linebacker Austin Bryant, formerly with the Lions. He was a 4th-round pick out of Clemson in 2019. And he's played in 33 NFL games so far, but he's been just primarily kind of a rotational player. He does have some athletic upside to him, which I like where the 49ers are heads at with that particular defensive end. I like the fact that he seems like a athletically twitched up type of edge, which is what we're looking for. But, maybe not the guy that we had in mind. Could be a nice project, could be a cost-effective option, maybe a rotational piece. But again, there's still some guys. I think we need to replace the Omenahue role and we need to replace the Ebukam role. Two distinctly different roles. Ebukam played you would see him lined up sometimes on the interior. You'd even see him in a kind of stand-up role sometimes, and they'd run like a DN stunt or some kind of looping stunt with him. But for the most part, Samson Ebukam's rushing from the edge. So, but Omenahue, you're talking third down, money down. Omenahue was over the guard half the time. So I think there's two types of defensive ends or archetypes of defensive ends to address. One purely a speed rusher from the I guess exterior of the defensive line, and one from the interior of the defensive line. Rasheem Green is a guy that, like, I'm going down the list. I don't know much about Rasheem Green, but I started looking at clips of him, and instantly you could see that this guy is like the type of Omenahue. He fits that Omenahue role. He has ability to rush on the outside. He's got some moves. He has a nasty club. Um, Absolutely cooked Jalen Moore on this one rep posted by Brandon Thorne. Um, but you also see the ability to kick him inside. Like he's a thicker body, not necessarily your twitched up speed. He's more of kind of interior exterior versatility. I liked him a lot as a potential replacement for Charles Omenihu. Now we'll see if that actually happens, or they really are planning on attacking these needs in the draft. But I do think it would make the most sense to go into the draft with as many of these holes plugged. And if you can get these guys on 1 year deals, something that's manageable, because that seems to be, we've seen some of the contract deals come out for the guys that they have signed. Hartsfield, Oliver, all very reasonably priced free agents. I think the San Francisco 49ers can keep that track going with some of these defensive ends. Now we'll see. We'll see where they ultimately go with defensive end. If we get kind of like a Frank Clark, a Justin Houston, one of the kind of upper echelon guys left. I see someone in the chat said Robert Quinn, maybe one of those guys, or uh, they don't, and we turn to the draft. So it will be definitely fascinating to see how the San Francisco 49ers manage the edge. So we'll see, but we address that in the mock draft coming up. Um, Do you guys at all want to talk about Brandon Ayuk's tweet? Do you care? Have you heard enough from other content creators where I don't even have to talk about it? Let me know in the chat. If not, we can just move on to the mock draft. But again, I'll leave it up to you guys if that's something that you would prefer to touch on, or we could get to mock drafting. So drop it in the chat. Let me know. Let me know what you think. First one right off the bat says talk. Ooh, there we go. Hello, hello. Testing, testing. There we go. So we can talk about it. Uh, yep, the boys, John Lynch, Adam Peters, out and about. Pro days today. Stanford, San Jose State. Uh, Junior Fehoko, man, he's pretty decent off. He's pretty decent off the edge. So we'll see. Um, but I guess we could just talk on Brandon Ayuk really quick. Interesting tweet. We don't hear from Brandon Ayuk a lot, so I think that's one of the big things where I was like, "Oh, hey, Brandon." And we know he's typically this is the year for first round draft picks to kind of discuss uh, contract negotiations when they're kind of heading into that fifth year territory. Obviously, the 49ers have until May to pick up the fifth year option. And they also have the flexibility to discuss contract negotiations. Typically, you're kind of like a year ahead. The 49ers, we've seen how they operate. They will actually push it to the very end. Kittle was talking about this on Theo Vaughn's podcast. He's kind of talking about how that typically works when guys get paid. As we know, Nick Bosa played on his fifth year. He will get his contract extension after he played on the fifth year. Maybe that's something for the San Francisco 49ers with Brandon Aiyuk. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what Brandon Aiyuk said was true. He's the fourth option on uh, definitely more run oriented scheme. And he, as we know, still put up 1,000 yards receiving, and pretty nice. He's a phenomenal receiver. I think I all of us would agree that if Brandon Ayuk was a number one with a Justin Herbert, a Patrick Mahomes, a Josh Allen, I mean, BA's putting up 1,500 yard receiving seasons. So I don't think, you know, we don't, we're not really concerned with the talent aspect. I think we all know how good he is. Um, but I think, as we know, we've seen this from you know going back. Let's use the George Kittle uh, contract negotiation for example. Like that was a tough negotiation. I'm not going to say a whole lot about that. But, I did kind of understand where Kittle and his camp were through the majority of that contract negotiation. That's where the hashtag pay George Kittle, uh, the movement came from because it was a hard negotiation. It wasn't easy. I remember because everyone on Twitter was talking about it, like, "Oh, George Kittle's going to get paid. No big deal." And again, I, had some insight into what was going on, and I was like, this is a hard negotiation because Kittle, in a sense, was trying to reset the tight end market, um, and deservingly so. And the tight ends have been underpaid league wide for a long time, and it was a hard negotiation. And so that's where the hashtag came from. And we've seen it, 49ers have traded Defo, things like that. So, not saying that's what's happening. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with Brandon Ayuk and any contract negotiation. I'm just speaking from the past. There has been it's contract negotiation. It's hard. It's hard to get deals done in the NFL. And specifically, we've seen, the 49ers have a particular way of going about business, and they handle their business the way they handle their business. Uh, so I can't speak too much on their philosophical ways of going about contract negotiations because I don't know. But I think we can all rationalize that, hey, if BA wants to get paid and he wants to get paid like a number one, which we think he is, maybe there's some discrepancies going back on. I mean, we saw what happened with Debo Samuel, all that type of stuff. So, was that tweet about contract negotiations? No idea. Was it him saying, I'm that guy? Probably. But we keep an open mind. We don't, you never know. We never know what's going on behind closed doors. And obviously, it's got a lot of people talking about it. So, we'll see what happens. I'm not too worried about it at this current stage in time. There's still time. Um, I'll feel better about the situation after when the draft comes and goes, and the fifth year option's picked up, and we know Brandon's not going anywhere. I have discussed in the past that, hey, let's say the San Francisco 49ers and Brandon, hypothetically, hypothetically, let's say they were at an impasse and it just wasn't, they weren't, the path forward wasn't connecting because, again, at the end of the day, this is a business. So it's about getting paid. Brandon wants the most money. The 49ers want the most value. And maybe those things don't align in the future. Again, hypothetically speaking, that would make Brandon Aiyuk, and I've talked about this before, that would make him the most valuable trade asset the San Francisco 49ers have. So you kind of have this perfect storm of brewing, but that doesn't mean that's where it is. I'm just, again, we look at this from all angles, even the smallest of outcomes. I would assume Brandon is here and he gets paid, and we see him do great things as a member of the San Francisco 49ers. But you can never just fully discredit these things. So it's something that we will keep an eye on. But it is what it is at this point. So we'll see what happens. Brandon is too talented, and he can be a legitimate player in this league. So it'll be interesting. Uh, when isn't an off season with the San Francisco 49ers interesting? I mean, you guys remember last year? Last year was crazy. Last year was crazy. We practically broke the Debo Samuel trade news while live on this channel. Like, it was nuts. Last year was crazy. I don't want to go through that again. I hope everything with Brandon Aiyuk is good to go and we play ball. But we'll see how it goes because, hey, we've been here before and it's fluid. But, anyways, unless you guys have anything else to say on the uh Aiyuk thing, we could keep it rocking. Um so we'll keep moving. And let's go. All right, let's talk about the mock draft because, again, this is where it starts to get fun. For me personally, always has been. Uh, I'm a fan of draft season. Big fan of putting the general manager putting the John Lynch hat on, having and just taking a shot at it. I I think it's one of the best times of the year because we don't know. It's a hypothetical season. So when it comes to the draft, that's why with free agency kind of coming and almost passing, it makes draft season start to come into shape and it becomes a lot more fun. And when we look at the 49ers and how they have addressed free agency, I still think there are some glaring holes where clearly we started off the show talking about defensive end. The 49ers have a defensive end in the building. They're potentially, they're right down the road at San Jose State. They have a top 100, top 150 defensive end over there. Maybe they're poking around, but I think defensive end is still a need. I think the future starter at safety is still a need. Cornerback depth on the outside, I think, is still a need. They did a pretty good job of addressing nickel depth. You could make the argument at linebacker 3 or additional depth at linebacker could still be a fit. I think they've done a good job of addressing interior defensive line. So I don't feel too bad about that. Offensive line, you've got Trent Williams, you have Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford, and Colton McKivitz, and you sign John Feliciano, who is a starting caliber player. He's not a franchise caliber player, but he is a starting caliber player. And so you've got pretty good depth. You got Zakel, you got Poe, you got Jalen Moore as of right now on your offensive line. So they still technically have enough guys to field a starting offensive line and probably do pretty well. But I think when we're looking at O line, we're still looking towards the future. Even if it's not right this year, I still think, Colton McKivitz is signed through 2024. I don't think he's the starter of the future unless he plays next year and we're just like, oh, look at Colton, man. So inspirational. Lock this guy up long term. But for right now, he's still a bit unproven. We've seen him in spot starts and he's done phenomenally well in spot starts. We just haven't seen him in the full thing. So I still think right tackle is a need, and also interior depth. I'm a big proponent of having as much quality depth on the O line as possible because one of the biggest fastest ways to derail your entire season is injuries on the O line. You start getting into this shuffling of offensive linemen and backups coming in. 49ers I mean, shout out to the 49ers, whether it's Brunskill, even Justin School in like 2019, or uh, Garland, like all these obscure backups have had to play and start, and dude, they've done well, but that's not the norm. So I think the 49ers still keep building depth when, let's say, a couple years down the road, other guys are ready to step in. You got them locked and loaded, kind of like Colton McKivitz. Colton McKivitz has been on the 49ers for a while, and he's looks like he's going to step into the right tackle spot. So it will be pretty interesting. Peyton says, do you think there's a competition between Brendel and Feliciano? I don't think there, from a business standpoint, considering you just gave Jake Brendel 4 years, you gave him, I think it was in the ballpark of what, 20 million over the 4 years. It would be interesting to bring in a journeyman veteran who has starting ability on a 1 year come compete with Brendel after you just paid him to effectively be your starter. So if I'm going to follow the money, I'm going to say no. There's no competition at center, but uh, right guard, I think he's personally coming in to push Burford at right guard and or priority center backup for Feliciano or push Burford. I think they're pretty locked in with Banks. Again, they've invested in Banks. He's a second round draft pick. He performed pretty well in his first full year as a starter. I think Banks is locked. Obviously, I think Brendel is locked. I don't think there is any type of possibility that Feliciano's coming for Banks or Brendel. Burford rotated. Is Burford can be really good. He's got the traits. He's got the tools. You just got to do it. That's it. And reps that comes with reps. And Burford, we could be this could be a non-topic when it comes to training camp. And Burford just balling, and we're like, oh yeah, look at Burford, man, so inspirational. He's out here cooking. So Burford could, but I do believe you don't just like sit back and you're like, okay, we're just going to cross our fingers and hope he continues to develop in the right direction. Because I think if they took that mentality, they wouldn't have rotated in Brunskill with Burford. So I still think they have some questions. They see the upside with Burford. They see the potential, but potential is just potential. You have to actually do it. And so um, I do think it's at minimum competition for Burford. Maybe we'll see if that translates to right tackle. but at minimum, Feliciano is fantastic depth. And it's funny because a lot of Giants fans have found my clips and tweets of Feliciano. Again, I have zero context of who Feliciano is going into his tape. I don't know their pain points, their backstory, whatever. But Giants fans don't like Feliciano, and it was funny. And I'm starting to kind of like see a correlation to how 49ers fans have been with the 49ers offensive line. When they're talking about Feliciano, they said he's terrible. Just look at the Washington game. He made a boneheaded error. Apparently, at the end of the game, it was a personal foul, and I think it cost them like 3 points or something like that. But again, when I'm watching tape, I have zero context of game flow or anything. I'm literally in a vacuum watching one player and all his reps multiple times. I have no idea what the penalties are. I have no idea what game situation dictates or any of that. And when you look at Feliciano against Payne and Jonathan Allen, he is cooking. Like Feliciano was cooking against the Washington Commanders. But in Giants fans, he was trash against the Washington Commanders because he made apparently a boneheaded penalty at the end of the game that cost him 3 points that lost him the game. So in Giants fans, they're like, Feliciano's trash. And I'm sitting here watching. I watched the full Commanders game front to back, plus two, both games against the Eagles that he played. And I'm watching it. I'm like, this guy's he's pretty damn solid. Like, this guy looks like a starter to me. But again, when you start hearing the Giants fans talking about it, they're reacting to an emotional thing that happened to them. And again, average fans just they don't watch offensive line. Offensive line is a hard position to evaluate. I'm still learning about offensive line play. Um, and I'm not perfect at it. There's a lot of nuance to it. There's a lot of technique and there's a lot of reasonings to why things occur. And it was just funny to see the way the fans talked about it versus how I viewed it with zero context, zero perception. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. I knew he was a Raider at one point. I've never watched him. And I get into the tape. I'm like, oh, this guy's cooking. And they're like, oh, he's trash. You should see what he did against Washington. I'm like, Washington was probably it was a phenomenal game. He played it really well. They're like, oh, he had a penalty. Cost us a game. He's trash. And I'm like, okay, well, that happens. Like penalties happen. Like, but that doesn't define the player. The body of work defines the player, not a singular play. And so again, I'm like, okay, I've been down this road before, as you guys know. I see some of you talking about it. Sounds like McGlinchey. Yeah, 100% sound like McGlinchey. I'm like, they were upset from an emotional outcome of a game because he did probably make a mistake, maybe had a boneheaded, uh, penalty that maybe cost them the game, but that doesn't change the fact that in that game he was cooking. So again, nuance, things matter, but ultimately Feliciano, uh, he looks like a dog, man. He's he. This is the thing. He's like the Brunskill replacement, but he is a big Brunskill. He's he's a he's a one everything that we've heard about him. He's just a dog. Like he's got that like aggressive mentality, but like he can get to second level. He can pull. He can move. He can down block. He can do all his pass protection is adequate. I would say it's definitely adequate. It's not perfect, but it's not bad either. Like it's okay. And especially when you're at center and you're kind of helping out sometimes, you're not always going to be one on one in a phone booth. You're going to have guards helping or you're going to be sliding or whatever. I'm like, all right, this guy's pretty good. So again, context, but I think it does play into how the San Francisco 49ers address the offensive line. moving forward. And so in mock draft 2.0, even with Feliciano added, right? Even with him uh on the roster, even with Colton McKivitz, Spencer Burford, et cetera, I still think the 49ers are in a spot to add more to the offensive line. But before quickly we start to kind of get into mock draft 2.0, breaking it down, all that stuff. Someone said, where is it? Here we go. Brad, heard you changed your mind about moving Burford to right tackle. I'm glad I have a brand developing don't move offensive linemen. Um, Follow me on Twitter. I'm very adamant about not moving offensive linemen. I don't like it because again, being playing offensive line is so much about continuity, uh, repping, doing the same thing over and over and over again, muscle memory, so that when crazy things happen, like insane stunts or technique or whatever, you have this just library of muscle memory that your body it's a reaction. It's not a process. But when you're learning, it's still a process which makes you slower. So I'm not a big fan of moving guys, especially from interior to exterior, depending on the person. There are some offensive linemen that are naturally like versatile. Like you can move them and it's not an issue. But you also have your just tackles, your guards, and your centers. And that's just sometimes how it is. Guards and centers are typically interchangeable. Um, Especially in today's NFL, you got to be able to play multiple spots. You got to be versatile. But I think any offensive lineman who wants to play in the NFL has to be versatile. You can't be one dimensional. You have to be able to play multiple spots and do multiple things. And so, as we know, with Spencer Burford started 2 years at guard and 2 years at tackle. So, uh, I've listened to some interviews with Spencer Burford before. I think he said, I was like, I don't mind playing guard at all. I actually feel pretty comfortable playing guard because that's where I started out. He actually transitioned to being a tackle at UTSA, and so he definitely has tackle experience. He's played left tackle, and I'll be perfectly transparent. um, I'll be as transparent as I can. I did not love Spencer Burford at tackle coming out of the draft. Um, he- I'm big on technical consistency and things like that, and I just didn't see it from Spencer at tackle. It was funny because I had watched him pre-draft. I was like, I don't see it at tackle. I was like, I didn't do a deep dive, but he was obviously playing left tackle. I scouted him as a tackle, and I was like, I don't love him as a tackle. Even you guys know Brandon Thorne. He's like the offensive line guru on Twitter. I mean, he's really in the trenches with the O line. All his work that he does is O line. That's all he does. He works with like legitimate NFL players, college players, all these guys coming up. And when the 49ers drafted him, I started asking him questions because because he liked Burford. He liked a lot of the traits that Burford had. And I'm like, he looks like a guard to me. He's playing tackle, but he looks like a guard. He looks, like he would be better suited shifted over. Now, so I still feel that. I still believe Spencer Burford highest upside comes from playing guard. So, but I'll explain to you why I am coming around to I haven't changed my mind. I'm coming around to Spencer Burford maybe kicking out to tackle. And the reason why I'm coming around to it is because I want the best 5 on the field. And if Feliciano can come in and slot like that's when I look at Feliciano, I'm looking at a guy who can start right now. So if he can start right now and be effective, and you can plug him in, let's say at right guard, and the the you Colton McKivitz and Spencer Burford are on a like a equal playing like playing field, and Burford, he already has that kind of right-sided kind of technique down because he's playing right guard. It would just have to transfer to right tackle technique. He's played tackle, but he's been a left tackle. So he's got the experience of kind of being backwards with his stance, with his hand placement, being on the right side, and you just shift that to right tackle. I'm more open to it. I'm not sold on it, which I've been pretty adamant about not doing it, but I am open to it because I want the best 5. And right now, Colton McKivitz, I like Colton McKivitz. I think Colton McKivitz for sure, hands down, was the best backup right tackle that we or best backup tackle that we had in training camp. I thought he earned that spot to be the firm swing tackle over Jalen Moore. Um, so I understand Colton moving to right tackle, but again, for me to even consider it, it's about getting the best 5. That's it. And if you can plug in Feliciano at right guard and kick Burford to right tackle, still developing Burford from a young mind and a playing standpoint, then I like it. But I'll think about it. So I'm not sold on it, but I'm open to it, if that makes sense. Uh, so Corey Soto says, Brad, do you think there should be more urgency at finding a left tackle replacement? May only have one more year with Williams. And that is a perfect transition into our mock draft that I had did today. So with my first pick in the mock draft, obviously the San Francisco 49ers are picking at 99. And so I don't think that is going to be suitable for Freeland, maybe. I think Freeland might be there because like, I like Freeland a lot, but guess who else I liked a lot? I like Mike McGlinchey a lot, and there are a lot of similarities between Freeland and Mike McGlinchey. Now, a lot of people hear that, and they're probably gonna be like, "Oh, no, thank you." But think about it. Freeland's gonna be a 3rd round draft pick. Mike was he was number 9 overall. There's a big discrepancy in value there, but I do think Freeland has more upside as an athlete. So they are similar, but I think Freeland might be closer available to around that 3. You might have to pop up to the uh the 80s, maybe 90s to get Freeland. But in this mock draft, I decided I'm looking at this from a broader scope. Cody Mauk can't like he played left tackle at North Dakota State, and he's a dog at North Dakota State. When you talk about a mauler in the run game, I mean, look at this guy get after it in the run game. He is a dog. He's a ginger plus, and he has a phenomenal mentality. I mean, you hear about this guy as a locker room presence. the way he is with his team. I mean, nothing but good things about this guy. He can play all the positions. He can play everywhere. He can play right tackle. He could come in year one and compete at right tackle, be the swing guard with Feliciano. He could potentially play center, or he could be backup left tackle. And if Trent Williams, oh, here we go. Breaking news. The San Francisco 49ers have signed Austin Bryant to a 1-year deal. Sound the alarm. We have breaking news. The 49ers sign a defensive end. Look at that. All right. Let me, as you know, we got to cook. So let me get this thing posted and we will legit react to this. So the San Francisco 49ers make a signing and get Austin Bryant edge. Looks like a 1-year deal. What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the chat. 49ers finally went and got an edge, and it's Austin Bryant. All right. We got to get this thing out everywhere. Again, it's a 1-year deal. The 49ers have signed edge Austin Bryant to a 1-year deal per Tom Palacero. All right, the 49ers have signed edge Austin Bryant. All right, we're going to cook it. We are going to post it on Instagram now. Edge Austin Bryant to a 1-year deal. Boom. Post. Apologies. Our mock draft reaction is interrupted by the 49ers making an edge signing. So 49ers go out and they get a guy. All right, let's look him up. What did we get? We pause mock draft coverage to look at Austin Bryant. Let's see. We are going to, and I'll show this to you guys. I'll show you what I'm looking at as well. Position, player. All right. If you guys are just joining, again, the San Francisco 49ers just signed a defensive end. He's 6'5, 250 pounds, fourth round draft pick by the Detroit Lions in 2019. Based on where he played, he only played 253 snaps last year. As we know about the Detroit Lions, they had two outstanding rookie edge rushers. He played 97 snaps out of the Leo position, 48 snaps from right end. He also played a couple snaps at outside linebacker, but primarily looks like he's coming in to be a pass rush specialist. Let's take a look. Grades aren't too particularly well, but he had no sacks last year, 10 total tackles, 3 quarterback hits, 7 quarterback hurries, 1 batted ball. Says 4 missed tackles. So I think this feels like a traits pick. Feels like a traits pick. Not a big production guy, uh, but I saw Steph Sanchez had actually posted about him earlier, and he actually looked like he had some speed off the edge. Uh, so hey, we got our edge rusher. There you go. Let me pull up that tweet by Steph. Let me see. Austin Bryant. Get a little traits poll. I don't know if I can show that. Ooh. Oh, play. It's from college, but still, that's pretty spicy. All right. So again, feels like they like the traits. I think the traits are there. The definitely seems he's definitely not a production guy so far in the league, but definitely feels like he's got some traits. All right, so I'm gonna reset this real quick, as you guys know, and we're gonna get this thing out, and then we'll get back to the mock and all that good stuff. But I appreciate you guys tuning in as we had some breaking news go live. All right, let's get it. Breaking news, the San Francisco 49ers have finally signed a defensive end in Austin Bryant. He is a former Lion and a former fourth round draft pick out of Clemson. Doesn't have a ton of production in the league, but he does have some traits and he does have some pretty outstanding athletic ability. Now, obviously, Chris Kosarek is going to have to bring this guy in and give him some coaching, but he does look primarily to be a speed rusher off the edge, which we've been waiting for. The San Francisco 49ers finally go out and get an edge to replace Samson Ebukam. It'll be interesting to see if they continue to attack edge to get like an Omenihu replacement or they look to the draft. But the San Francisco 49ers finally go out, get the edge. Maybe not the number one guy that we were anticipating or expecting, but they got a guy, and he shows some pretty solid traits. We'll see how it pans out. Let me know what you think about the signing in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe for more updates. All right, there we go. And get that one posted. You guys get to see the sausage making process, the behind the scenes. All right, let me get this thing posted. The 49ers finally go out and sign a pass rusher. Loot. All right. So, obviously, got to do a little bit more study into kind of what this guy's about. Um, to get a better idea and understanding of like what he really brings to the table. But if you kind of poke around Twitter and you see some clips, he definitely has some traits to him. Doesn't have the production, but he's got traits, so that's a positive. Especially when we're looking at edge talent and things like that. So not bad. Again, is probably a 1-year deal, something very manageable. Um, Likely depth, has an opportunity to make the roster. I still don't think this is like the move that the 49ers have addressed edge. I don't think it's that. But it also could be another form of confidence in Drake Jackson. If they're not going to go out and get one of these top tier kind of guys in free agency, maybe they feel pretty confident about what Drake Jackson is going to bring to the table and stepping in to play that role. So that will be interesting. And also goes to why I only took one edge in the fifth round in my mock, because I really did believe that the San Francisco 49ers are going to still add edge depth in free agency. I still feel like even with this current signing, there is still room to sign additional edge. Whether it's, they go boom or bust with a Yannick or Frank Clark or a Rasheem Green is a little probably going to be more cost effective, a little bit more manageable. Um, Definitely something to be in to continue to monitor, man. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited to do more research on the pick to get a kind of better idea of what we're cooking with. So again, if you're just joining, San Francisco 49ers sign a edge rusher. Definitely we'll see. Maybe we'll pull some film in a little bit. But let's get back to the mock draft, because I think we got some stuff to talk about. So, recapping where we left off, I had the San Francisco 49ers trading up, giving 99, 102, 255, and a 2024 fourth for the 76th and 117th. So, more of a pick swap, 76 to 99, 102 to 117. Basically, for those swaps, you're basically giving up a fourth rounder and the last seventh round pick that you had. So in regards to uh uh draft compensation, I actually liked this trade. I thought it was pretty good. I feel like to be able to have a pick swap where you jump up from 99 to 76, but then you take your 102 and you turn it into 117 while you still have 101. So basically, how the draft went, that in my mock was 76, 101, and 117 versus 19, 101, 102. Does that make sense? So that's how I managed the trade. I kind of wanted to spread it out by being able to move up, but also get some value by dropping back. And so to me, how I see this trade really working out, I mean, to drop back from 102 to 117 and then to be able to go from 99 to 76 for basically the last seventh round pick and a 2024 fourth, which you are going to get a ton of comp picks in return. It feels like a good trade to me. I like the trade. I don't know about you guys, but I felt like it's a good trade. And then you go up and you get uh, this dude who, again, I've been watching for a while. He blew up the Senior Bowl. He's kind of like Quinn Miners 2.0. Again, if you guys remember Quinn Miners, he is a friend of the channel. We did an interview with Quinn Miners. He's a starting guard for the Broncos. He's like Quinn Miners 2.0. He's same kind of vibe. Uh, Back country, get her done. Can play every position. I talked to him. If you listen to the volume, it's my interview with Cody at the combine. He's talking about you can play any scheme, any position, doesn't matter. That's why I like this guy. He fits a lot of different things right now and in the future. So that's why I go trade up and get Cody Mauk. Another guy that I talked to at the combine, Tucker Kraft. I go get tight end two. So this is where we stay at 101, right? So we stay at 101, and I go out and get South Dakota State tight end Tucker Kraft. It'll be interesting to see if Tucker Craft is available at 101. He could go a little higher. It will be interesting. What is interesting about him and George Kittle have the same representation. So him and George Kittle already have an open line of communication. Tucker told me that he'll be working out with George Kittle this offseason. Um, and he really does look at George Kittle's game to try to he also what was really cool about what he said was uh I'm not just trying to emulate Kittle's game. I'm trying to be better than Kittle. And I was like, okay. And he has the traits. Very athletically gifted tight end for his size. You can see his willingness to block out on the edge, just manhandling the cornerback. I think the 49ers would do a really good job grabbing Tucker Craft in the third round, fitting him into tight end two. We know the 49ers run two tight end sets, probably up there with the most of any team in the league. You get a guy who can be an impact now, but also be George Kittle's successor in a couple years down the road. I really liked how this one shook out. And then again, by being able to drop back to 117, I go and get one of my favorite safety prospects of this draft in Jair Brown. I mean, when you're looking at a safety prospect who can do it all, whether it's in coverage, the instinctual ability it takes to play safety, he has the physical tools, and then he puts it to work. I mean, look at how unfazed he is by getting his nose dirty in the run game, and again, the ability to track the ball, read the quarterback eyes, the way he dropped out. Um, he really, it'll be interesting to see if he'll be there at 117. Um, I would maybe assume he goes a little bit higher. Again, PFF boards are, yeah, I don't agree with PFF board. I don't agree with their board right now. And this is probably one I don't necessarily agree with. I would say he's definitely closer to 100. Um, so if you don't do my pick swap, you could theoretically go like maybe Tucker Craft at 102 and or 101 and Jair Brown at 103. But I really like Brown. I think he could be an impact for the San Francisco 49ers year one. And that's even with Gibson getting a lot of playing time. Obviously, Huff's going to get a lot of playing time, but we know the San Francisco 49ers, at least historically, have run three safety sets. Um, and I feel like if you get a guy like Jair Brown, you got to run three safety sets because this guy's a dog. And he could see the real legitimate playing time year one. So I personally loved getting this value here in the third, or excuse me, the fourth round. Um, so I waited till the fifth round to go edge. Obviously, as we were on live just a couple minutes ago, the San Francisco 49ers signed a pass rusher, and they signed what appears to be predominantly a speed rusher. Now, he's got fantastic size, 6'5", 250 in Austin Bryant, the guy from Detroit that the San Francisco 49ers signed. And the reason why I'm kicking edge in my mock draft back is because I've been anticipating an edge signing. They get the edge while on the stream. So again, making you know, I think the 49ers can look at fourth, fifth round edges. They're not going to be pigeonholed into they don't have to take an edge. You know what I mean? So this particular guy intrigues me immensely because when you look at all his testing scores, he is almost identical, if not better, in a lot of categories in regards to measurables and testing to D Ford. Now, D Ford, I would say, was a much more yoked for like he was D Ford was built Like Jose, I don't get the sense that he's like, one of he's not one of these just yoked out type of specimens. He feels more like your kind of average kind of body that can put on more definition and functional strength at the next level. But he is, when you look at his 10-yard split, faster than D Fords. When you look at his short shuttle, faster than D Ford. When you look at his three cone, faster than D Ford. When you look at most of his testing, he actually comes out a little bit higher than D Ford. They're the same height, 6'2". Jose is 10 pounds lighter than D Ford. But again, when you kind of put their testing and measurables up against each other, it's actually pretty similar. And this dude produced at Eastern Michigan. So, and again, I got to talk to him. I liked his mindset. Um, is he D Ford? No, he's not. But can he be like a developmental D Ford? Maybe. So that's why I took him in the fifth round. I think he has good tools as a pass rusher. I think he could fit that kind of situational pass rusher role where you kind of sprinkle him in some instances. He has some solid athletic traits that I think could be developed even further at the next level. So that's why I pushed him to the fifth, or I pushed defensive end to the fifth, because I think the 49ers were going to sign someone in free agency. This was kind of a BPA type pick, best player available. And so I went Henry Toatoa. I hope I'm saying his name right. And I comped him to Hufanga, and not in the sense because they're both Polynesian, but instinctual, like extremely good instincts when it comes to reading, diagnosing, and getting downhill in a hurry. So Henry Toatoa was kind of a BPA pick. He was on the board in the fifth round. I felt like I was able to address needs and uh, at the kind of value that they were slotted. And I felt like the value here was pretty good, especially with the 49ers losing Aziz Al Shair. Oren Burks is probably going to step into that linebacker three. I believe he'll be a free agent after this year. So maybe this could be like your Oren Burks replacement. DFF's coming back on a 1 year. McCrary's coming back on a 1 year. You could go get Henry Toatoa to maybe eventually be that LB3 down the road and be a kind of plug and play special teamer right away. Um, he's not the traitsiest guy at linebacker. He's not like, a big thick guy, but he could get on the Fred Warner weight program potentially. And it would be interesting to see how he would develop. But again, San Francisco 49ers took a shot on Talanoa Hufanga, didn't have, who didn't have this just crazy physical, like he doesn't have a ton of physical tools, but football instincts. Like talk about football players, like this guy is a football player. So it's hard to pass on those guys. So that's why I went with him here. Um, this is another offensive lineman that I really like. I think the value of getting Braden Daniels in the fifth round is phenomenal. This guy is all conference at three spots: left tackle, right tackle, and left guard. He, I I can't, like, I'm not gonna pretend like I go through everyone's scouting profile and I'm like, did this guy make all conference? Did he not make all conference? I'm not gonna pretend like that's something that I'm like really just like I gotta see. But I'm not sure I've seen a guy get first and second team at left tackle, right tackle, and left guard. Three different positions in 3 different years. I was like, whoa, that's pretty impressive. And then you start to kind of see what he can bring to the table. He kinda reminds me of Burford a little bit. I get some Burford vibes. Good, movement abilities, decent traits. I'd say still a little raw technically, but good baseline that you can build on. And I think getting him in the 5th round would be immense value. So I like Braden Daniels. I think that would be a fantastic, fantastic pick. Um, so he is low key a draft crush. I didn't announce him as a draft crush, but I like Braden Daniels. I was big time bummed out because I was waiting to talk to him at the podium at the combine, and he got held up in medicals. So he actually never came out, and I never got the chance to interview him. I was literally the only one in front of his podium, and I was hyped to talk to this guy because I'm like, again, making all conference at 3 different positions. 49ers are big on position versatility. We need tackles, we need guards. That's why I grabbed this guy. So 2 offensive linemen for me. Both the guys that I grabbed have phenomenal position versatility. I think you're starting to see the trend here. Uh, Position versatility with O line is big for me. But I officially announced Demario Douglas as a draft crush. I think this guy's a phenomenal talent. I think he's a phenomenal athlete. Um, I really do think he fits what the San Francisco 49ers want to do with their wide receiver position. Like he can do pretty much anything that you ask for of him, just like Debo would. Now he's not a Debo type player in regards to physicality, but as you can see right here, this is a handoff. He's taking basically a wide zone to the house for a big gainer. You saw his ability as a punt returner. You saw what he could do as a natural receiver. This was the video I took while at the combine of him making a phenomenally difficult catch. Um, he made a couple really difficult catches at the combine, and I was really he dropped 1 or 2, so it wasn't a perfect combine performance, but again, got to talk to this guy at the combine. One of my favorite interviews. When you talk about just vibe, when you talk about genuine, just like human interaction, that's what you get from this guy. If he's available in the 6th round, I would say this is a steal. If you could get him here, I'm like, this is a steal. This guy, in my opinion, has at minimum role player ability in the NFL, but he should eventually be a starter. This guy's good. I like him a lot. I think in Kyle's scheme, Kyle would cook up all different kinds of stuff. I mean, this is the type of athlete that can play running back if he had to. Like he's really good. So this guy's definitely a draft crush of mine. Like him a lot. And again, returner upside. He could be, the 49ers already have a bunch of wide receivers. Well, he could definitely provide a returning ability as a rookie to justify his spot on the roster. Um, this guy, Rajon Wright, cornerback out of Oklahoma State, Oregon State. Uh, Shout out Rajon. He's popped into a couple of my lives on Instagram. Um, he actually went live on Instagram. I popped into his live and I said, "Hey, come through to the Niners." And he's like, "I would love to play for the Niners." I think he's deep down a 49er fan. He said he's like, "I want to play for the Niners. I would love to play for the Niners." Um, and he's a local kid. He went to Laney Community College and then he went to Oregon State. But he is a long corner that has this mentality about him that I really like. And I think he would be a phenomenal asset. I think he'd be more of a developmental type cornerback. I don't know if he has the kind of top end speed that you're looking for at an outside corner, but I think neither did Richard Sherman, right? Richard Sherman was a technician, super smart, was able to diagnose and put himself in position. I think Rajon is kind of one of those players. And as you can see, he's also going to come down and make plays in the run game, and he's not afraid of getting his nose dirty. So I think if you got Rajon right in the seventh, I think that's another steal for sure. So closing out the mock, I've got Daniel Scott. I think this was just a for fun pick. I don't think he'll be a seventh round pick. I kind of got Daniel Scott as potentially going as high as fourth or fifth, um, but I do think he has starting upside as well. I think he's just a really good back end safety. And he was also a really good guy to talk to. Um, Enjoyed what he was bringing to the table. And I also took a kicker with the last pick in Chad Ryland, and we got a kicker. And I'm not, an expert at scouting kickers, but dude looked pretty legit. So we'll see. We'll see how the 49ers manage the kicker position. But that's how I got my mock cooking up right now. Um, I liked it. You don't have to like it. That's the thing too. It's like you don't have to like my mock. My mock is definitely very specific to me and how I think it would, the 49ers would go about doing, handling the draft in some sense. Um, but you know, I think there's a lot of potential, and I think it would be a fun one. I think if they were able to move up and go get a tackle, get a safety and tight end early, I think that would address a lot of the needs in the draft moving forward. Um, so I'll open it up. If you guys have any questions, any comments, you want to talk about something else, I just wanted to get through the mock, um, all that stuff. Thoughts on taking a corner in round three? I have multiple mocks where I've taken cornerbacks in round three. I definitely think it like for me in round three, it was I wanted to get a tackle first. If I could get one of the higher end tight ends in round three too, I would like that. Uh, I think this tight end class is deep, so there is a chance they don't go tight end early, and they maybe go fourth, fifth. Um, but I do think taking a corner in round three is absolutely viable. And this is one of the names that I've also taken. Uh, Stanford product. We know John Lynch, Adam Peters. We're out at the farm today watching guys like this at their pro days. Um, I thought Kelly played pretty well at the Senior Bowl um, and showed out pretty well. He's another good high upside competitor with traits. Uh, Looks to do well in coverage. Also be a force in the run game as well. But yeah, I could absolutely see the 49ers going corner much earlier than I went. Obviously, I waited till seventh round corner, which probably they might go a little earlier, um, for sure. But just kind of how my particular board played out. I think the fifth round, where I took Henry Toa is where I wanted to go corner. The corner that I'm targeting in the like that fifth round, any that area was the UAB cornerback. I kind of he profiles more of a nickel. He does have outside experience, but he does have kind of a profile that would lend itself to playing nickel. But Starling Thomas out of UAB is an interesting prospect to me. I wonder if he could play outside. I think he could play outside. I know he's being profiled by a lot of people to be a nickel, but I see the versatility to be able to play nickel, but also he's fast. He might be one of the fastest prospects in this draft. So Starling Thomas is I'm very intrigued by him. So he was my original target in the fifth round. I've got a mock up where I took him in that same slot. But on this particular one, the board didn't fall that way. So I pivoted to kind of a BPA, but yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Uh, what's this? Uh, this is talking about he played at NDSU, the competition. Brad, like, shut up. Would you say that about Jerry Rice? He played at a small school and he dominated the competition. It's not where you played. It's not where you play if you're good. Oh, I think I get what you're saying. I saw you apologize, and I wanted to double check. He says I get defensive when people say that about small schools, like some of the best players to come from those schools. Much respect, meant no malice. So I don't think I took it that way, but I do agree with you. I'm a big believer of scout the player, not the school. If you're scouting the school, like, I'm not sure I trust your ability to scout. Like, doesn't matter where you come from. Um, you can find talent anywhere. And if you're hanging your hat, oh, he's an Ohio State quarterback, he won't be successful. Then you unfortunately aren't invited to sit at my table to talk about draft prospects. So I agree with you. I don't see any issues with that. Uh, Justin says, hypothetically, would you trade up for Cansey if he fell past a certain point? If they didn't get Hargrave, I would say it would be more realistic. It's not unrealistic, but also too, I feel like with the 49ers draft a lot for need. It feels like I'm you don't you might have a differing opinion of that. Not saying you necessarily, Justin, but like anyone, they might have a different opinion of that. It does feel like they tend to identify certain needs and then they target said need, um, and fill it with the player that fits what they're looking for the best. But because you have Eric, unless they're looking to move off Eric, they just signed Hargrave to the big deal. And Cansey feels like a first rounder. I mean, I've seen all those clips you're posting of him. He's one of those kinds of guys that could get some general managers fired. Like, if you let him slide too long, he feels like he's one of those guys that like can be an absolute game wrecker and be like, we're not going to comp him to Aaron Donald because it's really hard to do that, but he could be an Aaron Donald type player because again, speed on the interior is you can't teach that type of stuff. And you can take the best guards and centers and neutralize them with first step quickness and strength. Doesn't matter how big you are. Again, like speaking from experience, I would take the big bodied guys over the small, speedy guys any day of the week. And I consider myself a fast offensive lineman. I consider my plus trait as being first step get off. Um, and like really like I was fast. I ran a 4.4 short shuttle, 7.3 uh 3 cone, and I was sub 540 as an offensive lineman. So that's what I hung my hat on. I hung my hat on as being moving well. Um, but you put a Cansey in front of me, whoo, that's hard. Like when they're already initiating their move as you're like snapping the ball and trying to just like get your punch in or get your leverage or positioning, and they're already like turning into a tornado and like slapping your hands down, like it's hard. So when you find that type of speed on the interior, protect it at all costs because it's rare. And that's why Aaron Donald is who Aaron Donald is. Aaron Donald isn't, he's not the best defensive player in the world because he's some just obviously monster in size. He uses the speed and the power to just neutralize guys. Um, so could I see the 49ers doing it? Uh, I don't know, but I could see someone doing it. I could absolutely see someone. I mean, I see what you see. Like, I definitely see what you see. I see, like, why you're so excited about him because he's an exciting player, and you don't see those types of guys on the interior very often. But hey, never say never. I will never say never. You literally never know. Uh, and if he does slide and it somehow gets the knocked for his size and the 49ers can get within reach and they get him, kick Eric to edge, put Cansey next to Hargrave and cook. Like maybe that's the thought process. I know Eric, to me, Eric fits best on the interior, but maybe you get a guy like Cansey in the building where you got to get him on the field. All right, well, kick Eric to edge. He's suitable. He's not going to be speed off the edge, but he's strong and he can set the edge in the run game and all that type of stuff. And Hargrave, Cansey, Bosa, that would be a devastating defensive line to have to play against. And especially if you got a speed rusher like on the edge that could like where you just move these guys all over the place, different sub packages. Who you see now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm thinking about it more, and you get Cansey on the Niners defense. Well, I think you're onto something, Justin. Bro, it would be wraps. What are they gonna do? What are you gonna do? You're getting pressured with instant speed from every angle, uh, especially on the interior. And then you're forcing guys off their spot to the edges, and then you got Eric and Nick to just swallow these guys. I mean, it's not a crazy idea. I'll say that. I'll give you that much. It's not a crazy idea at all. Uh, do they do it? I don't know, but I understand the logic. Uh, I definitely understand the logic, and definitely understand how that would be. I'd be crazy. That really would be crazy. Because again, I've been seeing the clips that you're posting of that guy, and he's speed, speed, which I hold in the highest of regards for interior defensive linemen. Um, is there any position that I would trade up for outside of tackle? Yeah, uh, defensive end or maybe Cansey. Yeah, I would definitely trade up for a defensive end. I think again, I trade up for the premium positions, and in my eyes, premium positions are again, I'm biased, but O line, D line, quarterback. You can make arguments that wide receiver is a premium position, tight end's a premium position. You can make the argument maybe running back is a premium position, and you can make the argument about cornerback, to me, I would only consider trading up for O line, D line, and but obviously the San Francisco 49ers don't need quarterback, I think. And we have needs at both O line and D line. So um, Justin is getting me thinking about going after an interior defensive lineman, which I wasn't really thinking, but it would have to be for the right guy. And if Cansey's that guy, then I'll take it. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't be mad at it. So uh I'm excited though. I'm ready for the draft now. I don't know about you guys. Um I mean, I've seen some of the comments. Some people are just they're just chomping at the bit to get to the season part of it. But now that free agency's kind of the dust is settling a little bit, even with the signing today of Austin Bryant, I still believe the San Francisco 49ers are going to be active on draft day. And I think they're going to be moving. I think they're going to be moving up and down. I mean, they have so much flexibility this year and next year. Like that's the thing. It's like that's why I traded a fourth round to get up in this particular class in this particular mock draft because they we already know they're going to get a comp third for either McGlinchey or Jimmy. They're going to get an additional 3 comp picks, probably a fourth, sixth, and a seventh, or something like that, depending on Aziz. Uh, who are the other guys? There's obviously Menahue, Ebukam. So 49ers are going to have comp picks next year, and they're going to have their first round pick back and second round pick back. So that's why I'm not opposed to taking one of those fourths or fifths and throwing that into a deal to move up this year because I know I'm getting those picks back. Uh, so I, I'm I feel like they were advised not to trade last year in the draft. I feel like this year they're like, all right, we're back open for business. Um, so I'm looking forward to see what they do. What do you guys think? Do you guys think the 49ers are going to trade up? Are they going to trade up? And two, is it for O-line or is it another position? Um, I'm obviously big on the idea of stacking O-line talent, but it could be a bunch of different things. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the draft. It's going to be a good time. But appreciate you guys tapping in. Apologies. Today was a late, excuse me, a late live because it legitimately took me like 3 hours to make that draft post. Like, I'm not lying. That took way longer than I was anticipating. And I'm not even saying the draft part of it. That drafting it, researching the players, that's not included in the 3 hours. Like grabbing the video, chopping it up, layering it, editing it, make like, dude, that took me a long time. Solid 3 hours just to make the assets to post. But it's the fun part of it. But that's why I'm late today. Yesterday, no babysitter. So I had all the kiddos and going live just unfortunately wasn't an option. But Moving up is the worst possible idea. It never works. Mm, do we believe that statement, or is that more of an emotional statement? Because it definitely works. Maybe the San Francisco 49ers haven't had the most glorious of track records recently, but I would say it works. Because if you really want to dive into that one, Patrick Mahomes was traded up for. And I think a lot of people consider Patrick Mahomes to be the best player in the NFL right now. So, but again, I understand if you're speaking of it from like a 49er standpoint. Who who comes to mind? Reuben Foster, trade up. Who else? Oh, Brandon Aiyuk. They traded up to get Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk's working out all right, I would say. Um, they traded down with Solly and Kinlaw, technically. Um, Sermon. Oh, yeah, that didn't work. That one didn't work. Lance. Yeah, that hasn't worked out the best so far in regards to value. Uh, that yep. Can't forget the Lance. Sermon one was the oh, Sermon was tough. Um, mm, so there are some. There are definitely some reasons. Again, I can understand why you don't like that concept. Uh, so curious to know why it's a horrible signing. Based on the deals that the San Francisco 49ers have been giving out, this is a 1-year deal. The Bryant signing probably has almost no financial impact. Um, this feels like the Hartsfield deal. I think Lombardi, I glanced at it, so don't quote me on it. But I think Hartsfield uh, has like no guaranteed money. It's a vet minimum and there's no guaranteed money, which means literally if the 49ers decide, yay, you're not on the roster, they don't pay him really much of anything. Um, and on top of that, uh, yeah, I don't know if Bryant is a vet minimum, but judging his production, I would say it's a vet minimum. I don't. I'm just projecting based on what they've been doing, how they've been signing. Bryant was probably a 1-year deal, vet minimum, maybe minimal guaranteed money. So when you look at it from that standpoint, how is it a bad signing? It's maybe not the ideal signing that you're looking for, like top tier edge guy, but the 49ers need depth. They need bodies, and this is a body. And maybe they see some upside in it, and it's not going to cost anything. What's good, Travie? Yeah, Doopy says 1 year likely near vet minimum. I agree too. So it's not a needle mover signing, but it's just depth, and the 49ers need that right now. So yeah, I don't think it's a great signing. I think that's fair. It's not like a 49ers won free agency now. It's not one of those. Uh, but it's a veteran with upside, and he's cheap. So, and you can if you're looking at the landscape of the 49ers signings right now, that's kind of where they're at. They're adding pieces, but they're not spending a lot on these pieces, which is a part of the puzzle. I know it's really easy to get caught up in wanting all the top tier, throw all the money at these guys, but they got their one guy, and then they're filling the pieces. They got their mid-tier signings in Oliver, in a couple of the other guys that they brought in. Um, and now they're just filling depth right now. This is just we need depth. We need bodies. We need 90 players in training camp. 90. And we're not close. We're still down like 30. So we need 90. Uh Not a needle mover, but still good depth. And it's not something that's going to like stem from making additional moves, right? What we're talking about, plug the holes. Okay, we needed edge depth. There's that at minimum, we have some depth. At minimum. Best case scenario, he turns into a player that actually contributes to winning football games. Worst case scenario, he's another camp body. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Don't think there's anything wrong with that. And you never know. Sometimes you strike gold with those guys. Raheem Mostert. Look at Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert was a camp body at one point. Raheem Mostert was a special team guy at one point. Dude got cut from like 7 teams. Look at Raheem now. Raheem out here cooking. So you just never know. You never know when a guy it's gonna click. You don't know. So this dude came into the league in 2019. He's 26 years old. Who knows if you put him in the right environment with the right coaching and the right support staff, maybe it just boom, lights go on and he turns into something. Worst case scenario, he's nothing. And it doesn't cost you a single thing. So Jordan Mason, legend. I love Jordan Mason, man. Love Jordan Mason. Could also be vet influence to help push new draft picks, and Drake Jackson, possibly a camp body who can end up as depth. Exactly. I think that's the perfect way to quantify the signing. It's camp depth with the potential to be a 53 man guy. I'm not penciling this guy in at 53 right now. If we had to do the 53 man, the way too early 53 man roster, this guy's probably not making it. But again, it's not a bad signing. It's not a great signing. It's okay. It's okay. Find the upside in it. Find the upside in it. Have I watched any Toledo? No, I saw you started a post about him though. I can't remember. Not popping out to me. But I'm curious to learn more. I like I said, Justin, man, you have an eye for like you know what you know what you know, and you're really good at being able to identify talent. Uh, the force is strong, so I'm if you are having conviction on is it Day Deshaun Daywan Johnson, I would love to do more research into him. Absolutely. All right. said we're Bosa injury away from our edge being Jackson and Bryant. I mean, technically you're not wrong, but still a ways to go. Still a ways to go. Technically you're not wrong, but still a ways to go before that 53 man is cut. So it'll be very interesting. Very, very interesting. He's nice if we can't get Cansey. He's got clean swim move, looks fast too. I would love to see. Love to see. Uh okay, I see. I see. Okay. I get that. This is kind of what I figured. You don't like the signing because it's not Frank Clark or it's not a whoever. It's not one of the remaining top guys, which again, I wouldn't mind seeing one of these top guys come in either, but you also have to fill in the back end too. So I get where you're coming from. I wouldn't say it's a bad pick, but I understand. You want that guy to get excited about. You want that guy to be like, "Yeah. Yeah, we got Yannick across from Bosa." I get it. I get it. Understandable. Understandable. But hey man, it's not over. Still time left. Don't give up hope. Who knows what Johnny Lynch is out there cooking up? Who knows? We don't know. They could be cooking up something. They could be cooking up something nice, and we don't know it yet. So maybe there's someone in the draft that they've identified, and they're like, we're gonna go draft some, or we're gonna make a trade in the draft, or we're just, guys, we're just gonna go get Brian Burns. That's what we're gonna do. That's just what we're waiting for. We're just gonna go get Brian Burns. That's it. That's the holdup. Is we're just waiting for BB. That's it. One could dream, right? One could dream. Uh, I wonder if Zedarius becomes available. That would be interesting. I think I saw something today. Again, don't quote me, but around 10 million. We would be like, we were like ranked like in the 20s, the early 20s in remaining cap space with around like 10. Wasn't a whole lot, but yeah. But I think that's it for me today on YouTube. I actually might pop on over to Instagram live because I haven't done an IG live in a while. And since we've had some news pop, might just hop over there. If you guys want to continue the conversation, like I said, probably just gonna hop over to IG, say what's up. Probably not gonna be a long one. But why not? And shout out to all you guys, as always, for tapping in, watching. Definitely grab your cookies. This is a long one today. So if you made it all the way through, congratulations to you. You're a real one. Shout out to all the SDS. Shout out to everyone who voted, by the way. I haven't seen the official results, but apparently it was really close. So the fact that in the 49ers media poll that I was even in the ballpark of Matt Mayoko is, I think, an accomplishment of itself. So if you guys voted on that thing, appreciate y'all. Uh, Definitely means a lot. Um, all that stuff. Uh, I like if I were to take down Matt Mayoko, that would have been crazy. Uh, that would have been nuts. But I never expected that. So the fact that we were even in like reaching distance of the legend is pretty damn cool. And again, it's just for fun. But overall, man, uh, appreciate everyone's continued support on the channel. Appreciate you, my guy Gold Rush. Appreciate all the real ones. Shout out Justin. Shout out Boomerat. Travis, if he's still in here. Yep, he's still in there. There you go. Get M and M on the show. Who's Eminem? Is that Matt Mayock? Matt Mayock. It's been a long day. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I met Matt at the combine. That would be cool. Payne says I low key thought you were gonna beat Matt. Apparently it was close. I don't know how close, but apparently it was close. So shout out to all you guys, man. That's pretty cool. But anyways, I'm out of here for now. I'm gonna pop on over to IG, say what's good. Probably not gonna be a long one, but appreciate you all. I'm out. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to